morning, everyone. Joined by the Minister for Health and Aged Care and the Chief Medical Officer. Australians are taking their lives back from what COVID took from them. And this is positive news. And as we go into the weeks ahead, we will continue to see positive changes happening all around our country. We're beating COVID and we're taking our lives back. And we're doing this as we see the vaccination levels in our country rise and rise. We are beating the models that have instructed us along the way and set out the path that may occur, whether it's on the impact on our hospital system and the way that things are playing out. We've prepared for the worst, but we always plan also for the best, and we're seeing more of the latter than the former. But that said, that does not mean that difficult days are still not before us. And that is particularly true for the family and friends of loved ones, particularly in Victoria today, where we've had 25 deaths and 2 in Sydney. And once again, we extend our deepest sympathies and condolences to all the families and friends of those who've fallen victim to COVID. It is a sobering reminder of the terrible reality of this pandemic, and that reality is still visited upon us here in Australia despite the progress we're making. But our best defence against all of that has been the vaccination program, and today 3/4 of Australians have now been double-dosed vaccinated. That is an extraordinary achievement by Australians all around the country, led particularly in New South Wales and Victoria and the ACT, where those rates now, particularly on first doses, as I said yesterday, is higher for Australia than now even the United Kingdom. So Australians are doing what their part of the deal was, and we're keeping our part of the deal, because from Monday, fully vaxxed Australians, we will see them being able to travel overseas from next Monday. In New South Wales and Victoria and the ACT, they will be open. Australia is connecting together again, and I can tell you, no one is happier about that than me as Prime Minister to see that occurring, and we're going to continue to see that occurring in the months ahead and substantially before Christmas, as all states and territories have been outlining that plan, obviously with the exception of WA before the end of this year. So I welcome that. Regional travel returns, interstate travel returns and international travel returns happening across all of those jurisdictions. That means families reuniting together. It means business travellers being able to get on planes and connecting again and getting our economy moving, as our economy has been one of the best performing around the world when it comes to COVID-19. Not only have we had the lowest fatality rates in the world, amongst those are the lowest in the world, but we've had the strongest economy, one of them of advanced economies coming through this COVID pandemic, and now we're on track to have one of the highest vaccination rates in the world, which means that we're able to open up Australia in accordance with the national plan. Now, an important part of that is moving forward with the booster program, and that booster program will commence on November 8. And I'll ask the Minister for Health and Aged Care and the CMO to take you through a few more of those details. But on November the 8th, that process will begin again. Jane Malashak and I and the CMO will be heading off soon thereafter to be able to ensure that we have those boosters. Those booster programs will have a focus especially on aged care and health workers, but it is an whole of population booster program. And there are enough vaccines to do it. In fact, as General Fruin announced only the other day, there is enough vaccines right now here in Australia to ensure that everybody who wants one to get both single and double vaxxed can have one. So it's over to the rest of Australia, wherever you are. There are enough vaccines here to ensure that we can be hitting those 80% marks, which we expect to achieve next week, and to ensure that in Queensland and WA in particular, there are enough doses there for those 80% and 70% marks to be achieved right now. So encourage people to take up that challenge and go out and get those doses. I'd make one other point before I pass over to Greg, and that is obviously tonight I'll be heading off to the G20 Leaders Summit, as well as the COP26 in Glasgow. The world is reaching what I think is a critical point in our health and economic recovery from COVID, and that will be a keen focus of the discussions that I know we'll be having there. The multilateralism of vaccines and the 60 million doses that Australia has already committed, and I was speaking about these last night as part of the East Asia Summit, which I participated in. I also note that yesterday, in our meeting of the first ever Australia ASEAN's ongoing annual dialogue, that we achieved a comprehensive strategic partnership, that is an elevation to a comprehensive strategic partnership level relationship with ASEAN. Now, that is the first such partnership ASEAN has entered into with any country in the world. Such is the closeness of our relationship with our friends and partners here in Southeast Asia that ASEAN has selected Australia to be their first comprehensive strategic partner, and no doubt there will be others. But our long-standing relationship with our ASEAN partners, I think, has been recognised in that being able to be achieved yesterday. And I thank particularly Minister Payne for all the tremendous work that she has done on that task. And so, whether it's in summits like that or others, this issue of reaching that critical point on our health and economic recovery from COVID will be a keen focus of discussion amongst G20 leaders, and ensuring there's equitable and safe access to effective vaccines. Another key issue that I'll be raising, though, will be that we need to fully harness the benefits of digitalisation. But in doing that, making sure the rules that apply in the real world apply in the digital world. I will continue to press, as Australia always has, and show the leadership on this issue globally, that we must hold social media platforms to account. They're publishers, not just platforms. And particularly when they allow people to anonymously go on their platforms and publish their vile rubbish, whether that is to bully a young girl or target people online or to push defamatory statements out against people, and to do so anonymously with impunity. That's not freedom of speech, that's just cowardice, and we cannot have that thrown up on our social media platforms to Australians in this country. It's not just a problem here in Australia, it's a problem all around the world. We led the charge together with New Zealand and France after the Christchurch massacre. And I took that to the G20 in Osaka, and we achieved a global leaders statement that has followed through with real action to ensure that the internet and particular social media platforms are not used as a weapon by terrorists. But they're still being used as a weapon right now, destroying the mental health of our young people, destroying lives. And it's just not on in this country. The online privacy draft legislation that we've already released, and people are aware of that today, that builds on so many of the other things we've already done on takedown powers, the e-Safety Commissioner. Australia is leading in this area, and I'll be raising that with other G20 leaders when I'm there, because we have to go further than we are now. Of course, at COP26, I'll have the privilege of being able to confirm Australia's commitment to have a target of net zero by 2050, and of course to update our projections as part of our nationally determined contributions that our 26-28% target we anticipate will be exceeded with a 35% reduction in our emissions by 2030.